Web navigators, hello and welcome to PC Tips and Tricks. Why disabling these folders is so important for privacy recent folder shortcut files. A. Lenke, pointing to files and folders that you have recently opened, Word, PDF, images, etc. Raw history that reveals exactly which documents were recently accessed by the user. Automatic destinations folder, encrypted binary files. They power the shortcut lists called jump lists for programs that do not use a custom location HWG. Notepad traceability per application reveals which files were accessed for a specific app, even if the file was opened a long time ago. Custom destinations folders, encrypted binary files that power the shortcut lists for programs that use custom locations, e.g. File Explorer, specific apps, there's the gist. These three folders are the cornerstone of the recent documents. And jump list features the problem of persistence and the eventual discovery of private data. The main risk is the unauthorized discovery of your activity, whether by another person using your PC or by malicious software commonly called malware. Revelation of usage habits with a simple glance at quick access or via the start menu is enough to reveal all of the latest sensitive files you have opened, contracts, invoices, private photos, etc. Even if you have closed them, shortcut lists are archives. The folders, automatic destinations, and custom destinations retain histories much more persistently than the simple recent documents list. They are designed to remember files that you opened in a given application, even weeks or months later, thus offering an archive of your software activity. The issue of digital footprints from a forensic perspective. In a security or digital investigation context, these folders are a goldmine for forensic experts. Even if the user deletes the original file, the LNK shortcut in the recent folder or the encrypted entry in destinations may still exist. These traces allow proof that a specific file was accessed on a precise date. Disabling the creation of these files is one of the fundamental steps for a trace securing policy on your PC. The solution will involve Regedit, because the task scheduling solution will only delete files when the PC shuts down. Insufficient group policies, Regedit, are official tools provided by Microsoft to manage and customize system configurations. They are designed to be used by administrators and advanced users without risking making the system unstable. What you modify are only the rules for saving the user's history and also intended behaviors for the computer. You do not touch critical system files, drivers, or hardware settings. You simply disable an activity tracking function. If you ever change your mind, simply return to Regedit, reset the concerned settings, and enter the command line GP update force, and the history recording function will be reactivated. You can therefore proceed with confidence. If you have a home version of Windows, you can still benefit from it. Why install the local group policy editor or GPDit, Group Policy Edit? On a Windows Home Edition PC, you will be able to configure security settings. Because it is important to prevent security vulnerabilities on a PC that is used by yourself, third parties, adults, and/or children, you can therefore easily install GPEdit using the script provided in the description to manage the use of your PC. Here is how. Here is an example of an installation process that has not been performed. Right-click on the Start menu, then select Run, or click on the search icon and type Run. Then select Open Type Regedit. MSC, then click OK. You see Regedit is nowhere to be found. We will proceed to create the Regedit installation script. Right-click on the desktop, select New, then Text Document. Name your file. Whatever you wish, it doesn't matter. You will need to change the name of the file extension from ext to cmd. Then click Yes to confirm the change. Right-click on the file to add the script under W7 and W10. Select Edit in the context menu under W11. Click Show More Options, then select Edit. The file is open. You will have previously copied the script indicated in the description. Paste the script into the file. Once done, select Now File, then click Save. You can now exit, right-click on the file and run as administrator. The installation runs. The operation succeeded. Press any key to continue. We will now check the execution of Regedit, the local group policy editor. Window appears there. You are all set. By activating the recommended group policies, do not keep history of recently opened documents and clear history of recently opened documents on exit. You cover the 3 folders at the same time, blocking the recent folder. The first policy stops the creation of links, blocking the automatic destinations, embaye and custom destinations folders. The second policy clears history on exit, forces Windows to clean these binary files that make up the shortcut list every time the session is closed, thus ensuring that they contain no persistent data. You have well understood that we are at the heart of your privacy. I'm going into jpedit.msc to block the creation of shortcuts for these folders. I click on the search icon. I type Regedit in the search bar. Here we are. In user configuration, then administrative templates, and finally start menu and taskbar. Look for the setting. Do not keep a history of recently opened documents. Double-click on this setting and set it to enabled. Click on Apply and then OK. By enabling this setting, you prevent the operating system and installed programs from creating new shortcuts in the folder. Clean up existing traces. Enabling the policy prevents new traces but does not delete. Align files that are already present in the recent folder. To clean up what already exists in the folders, you can configure another strategy to ensure that Windows empties this folder each time the user logs off. Find the setting, Clear History of Recently Opened Documents when exiting. Double-click on it and set it to Enable. Click on Apply, then OK. Let's take advantage of our trip to Regedit to continue promoting privacy security on Windows. Here are some other key strategies that can be enabled to minimize traces. Reduce telemetry and control certain features that record activity. It's a gift. For advanced privacy, Windows 10.11 sends usage data to Microsoft by default. Understand this as telemetry. Although it is difficult to block all telemetry on non-enterprise versions, we will see this later in the video. You can still reduce the amount of data sent. In computer configuration, then administrative templates, Windows components, and data collection and preview builds. Allow diagnostic data. Select Enabled. Then in the drop-down menu, send required diagnostic data. Since it cannot be disabled, this limits telemetry to the lowest possible level, thereby reducing the detailed information sent to the Microsoft server. Search now. Configure commercial IDs. Select Disabled. Search now. Configure user experiences and telemetry. Select Disabled. blocks advertisements, suggestions, and notifications personalized based on your usage. Windows uses your activity to offer personalized suggestions and experiences. Disabling prevents Windows from analyzing your activity for this purpose. Now, just below, application compatibility. You search for Disable Application Telemetry. Select Enabled. Then search for Disable Inventory Collector. Select Enabled. Disable User Action Recorder. If you are not using this tool, of course, select Enabled. Let's move on to Start menu and taskbar. Do not keep history of recently opened documents. Select Enabled. Now further down in System, then User Profile. Disable Advertising ID. Disabled. Now in Operating System Policies, search for Allow Publishing of User Activities. Select Disabled. Prevents the operating system from downloading activities from other devices. Now allow user activity uploads. Select Disabled. Prevents Windows from storing your activities what you open locally and sending them to the Microsoft server. Well, that's better. To apply the changes immediately without restarting, right-click on the Start menu icon. Select PowerShell in Administrator mode. In the command window, type GP update. Force and press the Enter key on your keyboard. That's it. You're done. Security measure implemented, but it's not over yet. The changes made via the local group policy editor gpedit.msc is only an interface for modifying specific keys and values in the Windows registry. To export these changes via the corresponding registry keys, you will need to follow the paths indicated in the description. Checking the recent folder, ouch, the process is not working. This is a problem that can sometimes occur even after running the forced update. There are a few common reasons why a group policy key may not work or may not appear in the registry, especially those related to computer configuration. Here are the points to check for keys that do not appear in the registry database. Your Windows operating system version. Certain policies, in particular those concerning telemetry, such as commercial ID or the very fine deactivation of the user experience, are specifically designed for enterprise or education versions. If you are using a Windows Pro version, it is possible that Microsoft may ignore certain highly restrictive policies in the telemetry category, and as a result, the corresponding key is never created, even if you enable it in gpedit. Another cause is that the registry path is different from that of gpedit. This is the most common cause. The path in gpedit is not always a perfect mirror of the registry path. This is a known variation. Sometimes Windows simplifies or slightly modifies the structure of the folders created by group policies or places these values directly in the parent system folder. I will go to the registry. To do this, click on the search icon and type Regedit in the search bar. Here we are. Copy and paste the path that will be indicated in the description user configuration. The policies are stored under the path that will be indicated in the description. Clear recent docs. On exit 1, no recent docs, history 1. Everything is okay here. I can save the key. I right click on it. I select export. Name your backup so that you can easily recognize it. And that's it, you're done. Computer configuration policies are stored under the paths that will be indicated in the description application compatibility. The dword value named Disable Application Telemetry does not exist. I right-click in the right-hand window. I select the 32-bit dword value and name it Disable Application Telemetry as agreed. Understand that Disable Application Telemetry means that the data of the value will therefore be set to 1 for yes to disabling. The other values are present and disabling is enabled. The following path, data collection understand by telemetry. Here, there will be a small subtlety regarding names and types allow telemetry 0 commercial ID does not exist. But be careful, this is not a 32-bit dword value but a regz string value. Just like before I will create it, I right-click in the window on the right, I select the string value and name it commercial ID. In this case, we don't put anything if it does not exist. Windows does not use commercial identification, which is what we want. Having created it, we lock the parameter. The value configure telemetry does not exist. Understand by configure telemetry, I proceed to create it and the data of the value are set to 0. That's it, done. I right-click and save. Now to the next one. In my case and perhaps in yours too, the Explorer key does not exist. So I will create it as previously done with the 32-bit dword value, which will be named No Recent Docs History. Understand by Recent Documents History value 1 to enable deactivation. This value also exists in the user section. This is the most important thing for your session. Is it useful to create it in the computer section? So yes, if you want this to apply to all users of the PC. I right-click and save. In AdvertisingInfo, understand by advertising information disabled advertisement ID. It is often here that the path is different in the registry compared to Regedit. Similarly, if this key AdvertisingInfo, advertising information, does not exist, it will need to be created. I create the 32-bit dword value which will be named disabled. Value 1. Now that's done. I right-click and save the key. Let's move on to system. At this address, I have keys that match what I am looking for and that are causing problems. The keys and values exist but not exactly under the structure created by Regedit. These registry locations used by standard Windows settings may conflict or be overwritten by GPOs understood as group policy objects. Group policy object. The values present under System Publisher User Activities correspond to this value allow activity data publishing. Upload user activities corresponds to this value allow activity data upload. First, you will need to delete the incorrect values found directly under the system key to avoid any conflicts, and then manually create the registry key and the corresponding dword values. The effect is the same as if Regedit had done it. I will create the key activity service. To do this, you must be on this path system. If in your case the system folder does not exist, you will need to create it by right-clicking on Windows and then selecting New and then Key and of course naming it System. Right-click on the System key. I select New, then Key, and I name the new key Activity Service. And I confirm the operation by pressing the Enter key. Now I need to create the subkeys, Publishing and Uploads. I right-click on the new Activity Service key to create subkeys. I select New, then Key, and name it Publishing. I do the same for the Uploads subkey. To block the activity, you must create the values block publication, which correspond to the local backup. I select the Publishing key. In the right-hand pane, I right-click, then select New and choose 32-bit dword value, which I name Allow Activity Data Publishing, which is not what I want. The data of the value is already set to disable block upload, which corresponds to server synchronization. I do what was done before. I call it Allow Activity Data Upload. I still don't want it. The data of the value is already at 0, so disable. I can now save the key and exit Regedit. Why do this manually? By creating these entries, you force Windows to read these instructions at startup. Right, I'm going to check the recent folder. Oh no! Windows is doing whatever it wants. I'm going to go to the Windows Explorer options. I right-click on the Start icon. I select File Explorer. I open the settings for Windows Explorer. I select Options. In the Privacy section, you need to uncheck the boxes. Click on Clear File Explorer History, then Apply and OK. I check the recent folder again. I delete the files, but they come back even more. Windows seems to ignore its own instructions. It's being stubborn. If the folders continue to fill up despite the gpedit strategies and registry keys, it is because Windows uses caching processes that override standard policies. Since the soft method is not sufficient, let's move on to the hard method. Here's how to permanently lock these folders. Lock folders NTFS permissions users administrators. If Windows refuses to stop writing to the folder recent, we will remove the write permission. It's unstoppable. To do this, I will go to the parent folder. See link indicated in the description. Right-click on the recent folder and select Properties. In the Security tab, click on Advanced. Then click on Disable Inheritance. Finally, select Convert Inherited Permissions. In the window that appears in the list of users, select your session name, then Edit. I click on Show Advanced Permissions and uncheck the following boxes: File Creation, Data Writing, Folder Creation, Data Addition. By unchecking only Create Files, you do not delete the folder, otherwise Windows would try to recreate it. You simply tell it, this folder is full, you can no longer write anything in it. Given that administrator privileges are stronger, if you do not specifically lock the administrators group in addition to the username, some information may be saved. However, much less than before. I repeat the same steps for the settings. In this case, you will need to uncheck File Creation, Data Writing, Folder Creation, Data Addition, and also Attribute Writing. Then I confirm by clicking Apply and OK. For this, you will need to uncheck File Creation, Data Writing, Folder Creation, Data Addition, as well as Attribute Writing. If you have files that have been installed in the meantime, procedure for their deletion. The recent folder is only the tip of the iceberg. What fills are the hidden folders, automatic destinations, and custom destinations. I also check the permissions on these folders. In this case, you will need to uncheck file creation, data writing, folder creation, data addition, but also attribute writing. Then I confirm with apply and OK. And it's a total victory. It couldn't be any other way. Now we can say that the locks are firmly in place. The fact that I can no longer get through even with administrator rights confirms that the process has taken over from Windows automatic functions. The folders are now real dead ends for the system. It can try to record what you are doing, but it will come up against a closed door. Here is a configuration worthy of an advanced user. My system is clean, silent, and no longer keeps snippets of information about my usage. I'm going to check the dword value start track docs in the registry right now. If it is set to 0, meaning disable, I will take this opportunity to make a backup of the registry key. That's it, done. Now it is time to organize these new saved keys. I gather all the keys into a single .reg file, which I named W11 optimized. I open the saved key, I copy the entire file, then I add it to the end of the list. In some cases, however, it will be preferable to clean up and leave only what has been modified. That's it. Done. Once your layout is complete, click on File then Save. When a Windows update appears and resets certain default settings, all you will need to do is double-click on the file to restore the values as you had requested. And this will take very little time. You will need to restart your PC for the changes to take effect. Finally, to finish, check the Windows settings. Click on the settings icon. In personalization and in the start section, check that the option show recently opened items in jump lists is set to off. Now that permissions are blocked, if an application ever displays an error message such as unable to write to or path not found, you will know that this is because it is desperately trying to write to the recent folder. In this case, don't panic, it's just proof that the block is working 100%. This is the highest level of privacy you can achieve without using third-party software. Everything is perfectly configured and tested. The registry keys are created, the folders are locked, Regedit policies are applied. This is a high-level configuration. Windows is now much more discreet and respectful of privacy. We have reached the end of this introductory video. This was a fairly long video in terms of explanation, but rather interesting about how Windows works. I hope you enjoyed it. See you soon in the next video.